Welcome to Big Data Wolf and AI in London.
So how are we going to choose this co-founder? Because remember, everyone's telling us it's impossible, right? I mean, we're meeting all these PhDs from MIT Media Lab, Stanford, Berkeley, all PhDs in electrical engineering, audio signal processing, explaining this idea, and they're all saying it's impossible. But I'm trying to figure out who's the smartest one who has a chance of maybe inventing this impossible algorithm. And as I interview them, I realize that I don't understand a word they're saying. They're all brilliant. How am I going to pick the smartest one to be the co-founder of Shazam? And then I had this idea. I'm not going to pick them. I'm going to get Professor Julia Smith from Stanford to pick them. So we made Professor Julia Smith from Stanford the first software engineer for Shazam.
With Juan, he's the CEO of Neurologica, and he will tell us something more about the analysis of emotional states. This is the technology that they specialize in. So, what are your current applications like?
There are many different, because we are measuring all the cognitive states, the emotions, and the mood of the people. So it can be applied for many different endless solutions. Now we are already doing it for security, for education, mental health, neuromarketing, and human resources.
Wow, so many different industries.
Yes.
So where do you see the future of the technology that you're developing in, let's say, 3 or 5 years from now? And maybe can you also comment European market? Because we all know that it's lagging behind a little bit, especially when I talk about Slovenia and Austria and so on.
Okay, the future of this is very clear, because it's not about what we can see. It's now the big techs and the technological world, AI world. It's saying that the new frontier is to make the AI more human. And this is the way we are working in. So this is the final purpose of this technology, is to try to make the machines more empathetic with the humans, to understand the moods, the emotions, the mental states, the way they are acting, you know. And this is about this technology. So this is called that the new frontier for AI is right that. So I think we are in the good way.
So it's not only in logics, it's also in emotions.
It's about that, because you know that 80% of decision making of the people are not based on the logic and reason, but it's based on the emotions. So this is our territory.
Okay, one last question. Can you describe what are your products like? What is this software doing? Maybe just in a few sentences. And then maybe you can share some advice for the Central European countries like Slovenia and Austria and similar, who we all know are a bit lagging behind the US. What should they do? Should they start with the strategic implementations of AI, or what do you recommend the business leaders to do there? In there?
We are maybe not a good example about that, because yes, we are formally a European company. Spanish, but now we are American. So the point is that America is now the hot point of everything now related to AI. So Europe doesn't have so many opportunities for the companies and for the industry in general, according to the technologies and the AI. So now it seems that they want to react. I think it's not too late for everyone, but now the European ecosystem based on technology and AI, it's, I think, overregulated, very constrained, because it's atomized, you know. It's difficult to grow and to create a big project in Europe now. So we went to US because of that. So we are now Americans. So yes, we are based on San Francisco, and that's the reason why. So hopefully in the future, if the laws are starting to change and the mindset of the politicians start to change, could be interesting for that. But we need that first. If not, it's impossible. We need the ecosystem for creating value and creating an industry and collaboration among all the European companies, because there are many different good companies in Europe that now are really constrained because of that. So this is the point.
Thanks a lot and a lot of success.
Thank you very much. Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Okay, good.
Okay, and then if they are changing the color, it depends on the configuration you have here. You can choose the kind of KPI you want to measure, and then you can threshold the level of sensitivity you need for that.
So we're here together with Nick. He's from Super AI. They are, if I understood it correctly, they are targeting small and medium-sized enterprises, and they do all sorts of AI automatizations. You do chatbots, you do copilots, you do voice recognition, and so on. Can you share with me maybe few most important use cases, and can you also relate that to the place where I'm coming from, that is Central Europe, you know, Slovenia, Austria, where enterprises are usually small, like few hundred people in max. So. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, nice to meet you all, and thanks for coming by our stand. So we're a Microsoft partner, expert at building custom solutions on the Copilot platform. Many people are familiar with Microsoft Copilot as kind of like an alternative to ChatGPT, and you can go to copilot.microsoft.com and see a ChatGPT-like interface. But it's also a programming platform. And like all Microsoft products. And so what we do is build applications on that. They don't look like Copilot necessarily. And that can range from intelligent automations, recommendation engines in e-commerce applications, all the way through to Copilot type chatbots. So we do a lot of custom work. We work mostly with small and medium enterprises in the UK. Where I think is very relevant to your audience, of course, is the language translation capabilities. We've also produced a product or two, and then you can see on the screen here, these are some of our products. Super Chat is our hero product, so that is an advanced AI chat product. And that speaks multi-languages. I'm sure Slovenian's in there, out of the box. And so you can just turn up on a website, talk your own native language. It's trained on whatever content you train it on. So it could be your technical support information as a customer. It could be your marketing information and product information.
But you talk in audio?
You can,
form,
yeah.
Or you talk
or text or both.
Text.
And it will understand your native language, convert it into the language it needs to do the query. It will then run the query behind the scenes, learning from the data you've trained it on, and then it will translate it back into your native language and give you the answer. So it's very powerful.
Your colleague mentioned before a use case of, she said, there could be a mechanic. He doesn't have time to do all the calls, all the emails.
Exactly right.
So you can also automate all of the workflow for him.
Yeah, I mean,
how does that look like? How do you onboard him?
The term that's being used
because he's usually a small company, maybe one-man band and so on. So how does the onboarding process look like? Especially for small companies in Slovenia, let's say.
I think the term being used in the industry is agents. You're building AI agents, and they are effectively additional human capacity that doesn't get tired, doesn't need paying, And so what we typically would do in that case is build technical support agents, and we have done for one of our customers. So we've got a European supplier of video streaming hardware, very technical content and products. They've got based all over Europe, customer based all over Europe, and their audience are very technical themselves, and they want to have deep technical questions in their own language from all over Europe, and they can't afford to have human beings that speak all those languages available 24/7. So we built them a technical support agent. We trained it in all of their technical support content. And of course it gets better over time as well. It learns because it's like an AI. So that's a very good use case, I think.
How much data does a, let's say, small and medium enterprise need to have in order to be able to train a really proper good AI agent? What's the extent of data that we're talking about?
most SMEs, if they're an S, not an M, obviously that's very different. So middle-sized companies tend to have lots of data. Small companies, it depends. Our customer here is a small company, but they did have about 2 years of technical support content in a ticketing system, so that they'd use with humans, human tech support. So they were lucky, I think. You don't normally need that much content, but they were lucky because we could have a very high quality agent, very quickly. The other thing is you can also train from both internal data and public domain data. So depending on what products and services a customer has, if there's information out there on the web, you can go train the agent there, and then as it does more queries, it gets better and better anyway, right? So you normally can get started with, I would say, an average amount of data that a small company would have.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it also can be in all sorts of formats.
It doesn't need to be structured. No, not at all. That's one of the big differences with AI, right? It doesn't. It's I always say to people, think of it like a really smart human. If it was a dumb human, you would have to structure your data and have it logically structured. But a smart human can read between the lines. It has intelligent understanding. AI is exactly the same.
Just a very short question: how does an onboarding process look like? How fast can you let him going,
Yeah, I mean, in our particular case, because we built it as a product, we can deploy it very quickly, but it does take time to ingest the information. Often the delay is the customer getting their systems ready, their data ready, but normally these projects are 1 or 2 months.
1 or 2 months.
Maximum.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's fast.
Yeah, it's very fast.
And last question, of course, I have to ask this. Where do you see the future development of AI, let's say in 3 or 5 years from now? Of course, you're from the industry.
Yeah, it's difficult to answer that because I think we think about things perhaps in a 1-year time frame because everything is moving so fast. One of the things that you hear from the leaders of the AI industry, so Sam Altman from OpenAI in particular.
Yeah, he's hyping.
Yeah. I mean, he says, people are underestimating what's going to happen. And if you think how quickly, one of my favorite examples is this super cool product here. If you investigate the market now for call center agents, right now, like today, it has an incredible capability. So inbound and outbound call center staff who are AIs. And they talk any language, they're superhuman, they can call out, you can call in, and they can have a conversation with them that's as good as a human. And that's just getting started. So I think you're going to see a lot of, we call multimodal, so audio interaction, visual interaction, video interaction. So much more rounded interaction, less on the text, more talking. You will see much more helper agents. So I think as consumers we will have agents that can be our personal assistant, even if we can't afford one. Can you would just, I think, on a personal basis, you call your agent and you say, can you call the school and check whether my kids are ready for pickup? And by the way, can you order some groceries to be delivered tomorrow? You'll just say that and everything will just happen. So it's quite exciting, I think.
Amazing.
Yeah. Lovely to meet you. All right.
Andy, he's with the General Assembly. They are an academy for technological skills like programming and similar. So, Andy, I want to ask you, is then throughout the years, do you see more and more demand for such skills and more people who apply to your programs?
We absolutely do. I think the digital transformation going forward is huge. We know AI is just coming up now and everyone is in demand. We know that individuals like to learn, and we also know that actually the online courses can get a bit boring, so we know that instructor-led courses is where it's at. So we know that people want to upskill to improve their own careers, and that is why we get so much demand.
How long does it take for, let's say, an average person to become, let's say, at least familiar or to be capable enough to work with such systems?
So we run short courses which are 5 days. We do boot camps which are 12 weeks. We also run academies and apprenticeships. So individual companies run their own apprenticeships and they can be run by General Assembly. But typically we can start with a complete nobody in no understanding of skills through to tech or programming within 12 weeks.
Do you see any differences in the outcomes between the online courses and the in-person physical courses? What are your findings?
Yeah, hugely. So most people who have been on online courses tend to be doing other things on their phone. They're multitasking and not really paying attention. We actually see a marked increase, sometimes up to 70% retention of information. If it's online, you're talking maybe a couple of days. If it's in a classroom style, it could be 2 or 3 weeks. And if we have constant engagement with the instructor, you're paying a lot more attention. You're also working with other students, so you are almost like committing yourself to everybody in the room. So you get a much higher retention rate, and we know that that brings a lot better results.
Okay, which is the hottest topic right now? For which program the most people apply to?
So we know that AI is hot on everybody's lips, but that also is coupled with software engineering, with data science, with cybersecurity. All of these boxes need to be ticked. We know that AI is a very good sort of access of information, but it's about trusting where that information comes from. So it goes hand in hand with cybersecurity. All the firms who are using AI right now are trusting the information that's being come from the internet. So if they use cybersecurity, that helps them to protect their data. So we know that all of those areas are things that companies have to invest in.
Okay, great. One last question. Let's say that let's have a scenario. You have a child who's like, let's say, 8, 9, 10 years old. In what way should a parent educate him about the AI future, about the digital future? What are some skills to acquire? What is some strategy?
I think the fact is that our generation have less dexterity with IT than the children coming in this generation. I've got 3 children myself. They're a bit older now, but they are using 3 or 4 devices at the same time. I can barely use my phone with one finger. So it's all about teaching them the safety online. Security is paramount, but also what the power of that data can do. So using it in the right ways. How do they find information? How do they become more informed with that data? So anything along data science, anything along security would be paramount for those young people. And they are, like I say, they are growing up in this tech world. We've had to adapt to it. So they are so much more alert. And actually they look at things in different ways. They approach things in different ways, which I think is super exciting.
Thank you, Andy.
You're absolutely welcome.
Thank you.
Hopefully
Hey, I'm with Simon from the Red Hat.
Hi.
And we just talked about the small AI models and how do they compete or how do they relate to the bigger models. So Simon, can you just give me a quick overview of what are the advantages and maybe also some shortcomings of those smaller models? Where do you see the use cases for them?
Right now, the major use case for small models is allowing people to experiment with generative AI. Deploying large models, very large models, is both expensive and resource intensive. So what we are trying to encourage at Red Hat is the idea that actually you can get good value out of small models very quickly if you apply some key techniques. Those techniques include RAG, which is retrieval augmented generation, and what you call fine-tuning of models. So this allows for a kind of faster workflow and a faster time to experiment, so therefore a quicker time to value. And that's really kind of our play in this space. That's where we think we're going to hit the most value for our customers.
And can you also fed in proprietary data, so your own data in those small models?
Very much so, yeah. And that's why using OpenShift and Red Hat tools, you would do that in a constrained environment. So not necessarily in the public cloud. You can use the same technology that you would use, but you can use it in a private space. And that's exactly why you'd want to do that for in the banking world, possibly government as well. you want to be doing that on-prem and in private cloud. So yeah, absolutely.
And the most difficult question comes last. Let's imagine that you're in Slovenia. In Slovenia, the most companies are small and medium size enterprises. And what are maybe some key steps that a business owner of a typical company, it doesn't matter in which sector, should take to become better at AI, to implement the best use cases?
I think, because also if you're going to deliver software to other customers, so for example, to our customers, then probably the most important thing to do is to be able to containerize your applications and your workloads, because then you are entering the world where deployment of said applications is much more effective, much more well known. So be that in public cloud or in private cloud or in OpenShift, Red Hat OpenShift. So being able to containerize an application is probably one of the most important steps to opening up your potential client base to enterprises and to people who are already very much engaged with the kind of containerized Kubernetes world. So for me, I would be, if you're trying to bring a service to other people, particularly to enterprises, containerizing it is probably the most important facet. Yeah.
Thank you, Simon.
Good to meet you.
I'm here with Charlie from QA, which is an educational company, if I'm not mistaken. And Charlie, could you explain to me what do you offer?
So we offer the UK's largest variety of technical training courses and learning programs to help people upskill and reskill in a wide variety of technical areas, from project and program management, business agility, business development, through to AI, data, cloud, cybersecurity.
So which is the hottest topic at the moment?
At the moment, it's definitely data and AI. Everyone's talking about AI. There are so many new AI models out there, and you need really strong, high-quality data to be able to properly utilize that and build it. So we're seeing loads of demand in that space at the moment.
How long does it take on average for a non-technical person to become proficient in the field of AI? With your help, of course, with your training programs, with your educational programs.
With our help, probably a few months. It can be quite intense, but it depends on how driven you are to kind of try and want to succeed in that space. If you really want to do it and you do a lot of the learning, it's not too difficult to pick up. But you are looking at quite a long learning journey to go from novice to expert. But it's definitely worth doing because it's a skill set that's increasingly in demand, not just in the UK, but across Europe and the world.
Okay. Are there any other advice that you would like to share with business owners of small and medium enterprises? What are some action steps that they should take in order to be able to acquire appropriate talent?
If you want talent and you want to keep talent, you need to invest in it. You need to deliver and give people the opportunity to learn and to train and to help their skill sets. And don't forget that the key to business transformation and change is learning. It's not businesses that transform, it's people. And if you give people the opportunity to get new skills, develop themselves, they will become an asset to your company, and you'll be investing in them and they'll be investing their time and effort in you. So don't forget the importance of training and learning and development.
Super. Okay, Charlie, thank you.
Thank you very much. Have a good day.
We have one more question. Let's say you're a business owner of a small or medium-sized company, doesn't matter, in Slovenia, Austria, Croatia. What are some steps that you should take in order to train your workforce, your employees, in order to achieve this AI revolution?
Essentially, every day should be a day in which people are learning something new and where they're getting skills to kind of develop themselves and to help develop your company. Because you can invest all you want in a 5-day training course, but you need people to properly understand what they're learning and be able to apply it. So at QA, we have our Learn, Master, Apply model, which is where we give you the understanding and the skills, and then people can go into the workforce to try and master it and then actually apply it to make sure that the skills are beneficial and applied and embedded. Yeah, the aggregation of marginal gains. So how do people apply these skills in the workplace?
So you should change the behavior on a daily basis. So
Yeah, every day.
So to say, you should change daily habits of your workforce in order to become better as a whole in the AI.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Thank you. That was a great answer.
So, this is an answer to a question we asked, what can you tell me about the German automotive industry? It gave a really comprehensive response all the way down here. You can see the sources that were used to generate this answer. This is only using Financial Times content from since 2004.
Since 2004. So this is the latest development that Financial Times is
Introducing.
introducing. So, Hani, can you? You got such a fine name,
Annie, that's me, the man.
So, Hani, can you explain me more about this new service?
Of course. So Ask FT is our new summarization tool using Financial Times content going all the way back to 2004. It's part of FT Professional, which is our corporate licensing service. What we do is we work with teams or whole companies globally, providing them with premium access to Financial Times content. And starting next month, in April 2025, they will have access to Ask FT, our new AI summarization tool. We had a quick demo just now. It was almost successful, I would say. In the end, it was very successful. And yeah, all of our B2B clients will enjoy this starting next month. And we hope we have a new client here.
Of course, of course. One more question, because I see you're a sharp guy, you're a smart guy, you're a young guy. Where do you think the development of AI, also related to the news and to the how you call it, to the journalism, will go?
You know, it's a huge opportunity for us. You know, you see Ask FT, this is something we developed in-house. And we worked for a long time on this. We want to introduce it for all of our clients. It is a big opportunity, not just for us, but for our competitors too. The problem is it does have some risks, right? So if you look at ChatGPT, for example, you know, you can find information that's not correct. Maybe information that's been put together randomly by a bunch of different sources.
This is subjective.
But this is this is credible Financial Times content. All the data is found by us, used by us. We don't use any other resources.
Last question. How do you think AI will change the future of journalism? How will AI affect this industry? If you can be as specific as possible, what are your views?
I think there's a big danger that we can see new journalists who are making their opinions and making their facts based solely on using AI, right? So using Claude or ChatGPT to write an article, publish it online, and suddenly they're a journalist, right? This is actually quite a risk. We want to make sure that your journalists are
mental laziness.
Exactly. It's mental laziness. We want to make sure that, you know, what you're reading is verified, it's correct, it's as true as it possibly can be. So, yes, while AI is an opportunity for journalists, an opportunity for people who consume journalism, there's always dangers involved, like there is in any industry. So.
And the last question, excellent interview.
Please.
How do you think AI will change the workforce, let's say, long term, in 5 or 10 years from now? How do you think the world is gonna become different? Is it?
I'm very excited, but also very scared. You know, I saw a statistic recently which said that in university, 80% of students are using AI to write their reports, their papers. Now, when I was in university, I wish I had this tool, right? But unfortunately, as you mentioned, mental laziness, and these are the people who will be entering the workforce. In a few years from now, they will become the C-suite executives, they will become the directors. And I just question if the convenience of AI will actually cause people to not use their brain, not use any critical thinking skills. I think, for me, I'm a salesperson. AI is great to understand latest developments in sectors, what my prospects are thinking, what difficulties they have. But that's it.
Which AI tools do you use?
Ask FT.
That's it. Thank you.
Thank
Honey,
you, bro. Appreciate
very
it.
nice.
Thank you so much.
Ay, 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 ay. How is this possible?
Not great.
Slovenia not existing.
No, I'm going to get an
Not
answer.
existing.
I'm convinced.
Every system. Yeah.
No.
Yeah. So
this is like an example of an ontology. So you see, some of this data you may have in your business, some of this we might find from open sources, and then some of these are like mini AI micro models. And then we link all of these up together to create the digital twin. And then one thing we've just started doing as well is we've developed this AI agent. I can get that on there for you. Oh, sorry. AI agent. So it looks very similar to ChatGPT, but it's not. It's built in. Yep. Do you want me to hold that? So it's built in into our. It's an in-house built LLM system.
Okay.
So we put that digital twin I spoke to you behind this, and then you can dig into your own business, finding patterns, charts, or even asking for predictions, and it will instantly generate reports for you on your business. So, for example, build me a chart, monthly traffic count for 2024. It will generate that for you. You can even ask.
And you told me that you specialize in 3 major industries: marine, traffic, and air.
At the moment, yeah, that's where our clients are.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can you talk more about the synthetical data? Because in our previous discussion, you mentioned a really interesting point. You say, okay, we had a client, but it was lacking some data for some specific time periods.
Sure.
And how were you able to fill that gap?
Yeah, definitely. So one of the biggest challenges is data. If you don't have enough data, you can't do AI. So we would go into these meetings, we would go into these clients, and they were like, we want AI. We were like, beautiful. Now tell us what your business does. Our business does this. Okay, can you give us some data? We have no data. We have no IoT. We have no cameras. We have nothing. And we were like, okay, so do we just guess? How do we do it? So they either installed those IoTs devices, but the problem with that was we'd had to wait years before we could develop that those micro models. So we created our synthetic data generator, which would take about 3 months, expand that out to a year, test it, and wait for more data to be generated. Then we had 6 months, expand it down out to 2 years, and then we would use that data to create models to predict for them.
How accurate was that synthetic data?
It depends, but it was over 90%.
Okay.
Yeah, it was over 90% of it was as if it was actual data that was generated from an IoT device.
Can you describe to me what does a typical client of yours look like, and also how does the onboarding process looks like? If you can keep in mind that I come from Slovenia, which is in Central Europe. It's a teeny tiny country, but still we got a lot of very innovative small and medium-sized enterprises. And I guess many of them could become more efficient with such products and such solutions that you offer. So what are the use cases and what's the deployment process like?
So one of the things was onboarding for a solution like this is a challenge, and you can't really, not yet, you can't expect to say, can you give us millions and trust us? You just can't do that yet. It's maybe in the future when AI is bigger. So what we do is we do proof of concept. So we plan and we prove the concept to them, and then we move on to a proof of value. So we would do a 6-month trial, fixed price, and then we would create the models and answer some predicted models, questions or challenges. And then when that proves that value to that customer, then we would speak about licensing and expanding. And one thing we do, unlike bigger companies, is we take it slowly. We start at the bottom, we create little tiny sectors of the business and models, and we keep expanding and building on that, but quickly, but very quickly.
Understand. So you want to say that you start with maybe one area of business with
struggling the most,
with certain processes, and then you gradually expand to all the other activities.
It becomes more affordable.
Can you now, excellent. Can you now present to me a typical use case that you encountered throughout your, let's say, in the last year or like?
Okay, let's talk about Port of Dover. So one of the biggest ports in the UK. A big percentage of UK trade travels, and it's critical infrastructure. If Port of Dover stops, our trade stops, so it's very important. So One of the challenges they had was freight going to the port. They're not really booked in, so it could have surprised them. So what was happening in the past was freight was arriving all at once, and it was causing mayhem across the road network. There was traffic in the port, the village was being overwhelmed, and all of that. And they have a system called TAP, where the police or someone closes the road to the village just to help manage the traffic. So what we did was we went in, created them a micro model to predict how much traffic was coming to the port. We've tested this with verification, so the port was able to give us data later after the event has happened. So we would examine the data and say, oh, okay, it is accurate, 95% accurate. So what's happening now is we've become a very important part of their operation, where when there's a traffic accident, they know, like for example, there's 500 coming, right? That traffic accident is going to hold up that freight for hours. So when they come, there's 2,000 going to come at them. So they know now 6 hours ahead. So they can plan their operations, get their staff in, they can predict, and they're ready for the fight, when it arrives to them. And that's been a game changer.
Understand. Okay, interesting. So, do you also measure end results in terms of cost saving, in terms of time efficiency, time saved, and so on? Do you also have those KPIs?
It is. It's not my department. It's more of the the CEO and department. But I am aware we do. It's challenged. It is challenged sometimes because. Like for the Port of Dover, it is a challenge to say how much this is improving. But of course, when you see the overall operation improve, and it hasn't been for the last, you can see, oh, okay, maybe we are making an impact. Because these companies that we're working with, they're not just using us, they are using multiple things at the same time. But we would think that we are making a big difference because they're using it, it's making a difference to their operations. So that's how we measured that. But when they do give us actual data of predictions and we can compare, that's when we know whatever it is, our predictions are spot on. We can validate.
So Hrab, thank you.
Thank you very much. Cheers. Thank you.